Hello, 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 hello to the warriors out there. Road to 45, day 15. And we're going to talk about getting the information from the actual source. Getting information from the actual source or getting it from the horse's mouth, however you want to frame it. We're going to talk about how important it is for you to verify information that you hear that's coming towards you or to you. So let's get to it. Every time somebody wants to find information out, why do we never ever think to verify the information first? Like we spend our whole lives in primary and secondary education and tertiary education looking at these things and how do we reference things? How do we find the right information so that the information that we receive and that we share out from ourselves is, for the most part, correct and can be verified and there's some validity to it. But I guess there wouldn't be a word called gossip if everybody practiced verifying the information. And I say this merely because if anybody knows me, I'm like, if it doesn't require me to have to exert unnecessary energy, then I don't need to know about it. If it doesn't affect the way I live or how I show up and have and practice the kuleana I have for my family, my loved ones, my ohana, my community, then I don't it and it doesn't concern me, it's all good. Like I don't need to know. I don't need to know. Um because it takes a lot of effort to figure out how one story on this side of the fence may or may not match the story on another side of the fence. Um, because that's how gossip starts. And that's how we start putting out information that we don't even have enough um, backup for. Like, I spent my whole master's degree having to verify and reference everything that I put down in my um, thesis. You know, we spend a whole chunk of our education, our lives, our elementary school lives, our intermediate high school, and then if you went to um, post high school education, universities or colleges, like you spend a lot of the percent of the time you're in there, you're verifying the information you're learning. Why don't we ever apply that to like just regular life? Like if you want to know, come ask the source. Go ask the source. Like I don't necessarily like when people say, "Oh, I heard," but in that same breath, they say, "Oh, I heard that you blah 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 blah," or they da 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 da. Um, but then there's nothing to back it up. And I always think like, why do we spend a whole chunk of our lives learning this stuff and then we don't ever practice it in real life? If you need to know something, ask me. If it's something about me, ask me. At the very minimum, you're gonna get a yes or a no. But it's so important to like. Why do we spend all this time, 18, years in education, and then another 8 years in college and universities doing and practicing these things of like referencing the information, making sure that the facts that you or the thing that you're putting down in your paper is factual. We spend all our lives doing that stuff, and then we don't ever practice that in our day to day lives. Like, what is the point of doing it if we are not going to practice it every day? If like somebody was asking, wanting to know about something that I might have been involved in, and they don't understand exactly what my involvement is, then just ask. Like the least you can get is one. I don't have time right now to answer your question, but let me get back to you. Like that's what I would say. And sometimes too, it's how you approach. Like if you give a type of energy, you don't be surprised if you get that energy in return. You know, um, and sometimes people like, well, did you know? And I'm like, I don't, and I didn't need to because it wasn't my direct like issue that I might have need like that I would have needed to fix. Did I know information? I probably knew a little bit, but at the same time, like, can't be trying to put out fires that I didn't start. I will own up to the fires that I might have started for sure. But this is why it's important to have that practice on a daily basis. Like, oh, I better go reference that. Like we're in the age of Google. We're in the Google era where we can get information quickly by just Googling, things. But it's not always true. You got to verify the information you Google and you search on the internet. You see, for regular talk, like people are talking about something happening in the community. Like the first thing I'm gonna go to is, hey, can I can I verify that? If that family is having a hard time, like maybe I should go over there and just offer, like, or just be like, you know what, take them a bag of rice. If things are hard, like, hey, I don't need to know the dire details, but I want to help, and I'll go and ask, like, you need help. Same thing for like when there's issues that come up, whether it's political or professional, as a teacher, as a coach, as a child, as a sibling. Like, come to me and ask, and find out from me if what you think you heard is true, and I'll tell you the truth. But that's same for everything out there, everything else out there. Like if we were spending all of our educational years, formative educational years, teaching these kids how to double down on understanding and verifying the information that they get, then we got to be able to practice that too in our day to day lives. And so, then I say this like not out of like disrespect to anybody, but just out of like hope that I don't have to be somebody over here talking about me and I don't even know about it, which is it's fine if it doesn't really affect me directly. If it's not impeding on how my bills are getting paid, food are being put on the table, clothes are being put on the backs of my family and loved ones, then all means like go ahead, keep talking. But if you really want to know the truth, then just ask. You know, I'll tell you the truth up to what I know, and that's all I can tell you is what I know. I can't tell you any more than that because I don't know. But it's important to go to the source to get it from the horse's mouth and not assume that what was told to you is the truth because there's multiple sides to the story, multiple sides to every single story, not just two sides, but multiple angles, multiple viewpoints. And that is important for us to understand that before we make judgment, before we pass judgment, go to the source if you have access to it. And if not, and if it doesn't affect the way you pay your bills, the way you show up for your family, and all of that stuff, then my best advice is leave it alone. Leave it alone. There's so much more things that you need to fix or you need to be a part of the solution in your own daily lives. So if you don't have to fill your life with all these other things, you don't need